Coming up on Lafayette Lens, an international exploration of immigration.
Immigration is a public policy issue, and the Lehigh Valley is attracting more new Latino immigrants than any other region of Pennsylvania.
We travel to Guatemala to understand the exodus from Latin America, why people leave, how they get here, and how it affects the people left behind.
We'll go down a road many have traveled to shed light on this issue right now on Lafayette Lens.
Welcome to Lafayette Lens. I'm Kadan Kinney.
And I'm Ed O'Brien. In the past decade, the Latino population residing in the Lehigh Valley has surged. According to the U.S. Census, 17% of the U.S. population is now Latino.
And in the Lehigh Valley, that figure is 1 in 5.
Kadan and I traveled to Guatemala in January with Lafayette students to explore the many facets of immigration. We wanted a close-up look to understand what makes people travel thousands of miles to start a completely new life in an unfamiliar land.
Despite the complexities, our research shows the reasons for leaving tend to boil down to 4 main factors. Reporter Andy Munoz explains the motivations behind immigration.
The reasons people decide to migrate to the United States are both personal and emotional, and they often revolve around family. Ana Gonzalez sells jewelry and accessories on the streets of Guatemala to support her family. As a victim of domestic violence, she wants to migrate to the United States for the safety of herself and her children.
Somos muchas sus áreas de violencia y realmente uno no recibe ayuda del gobierno más que solo de acá.
Her voice echoes thousands of others who leave Guatemala and other Central American countries because of violence. Across town, in a shelter called Casa del Migrante, Father Juan Luis Carvajal hears similar reasons for leaving from the migrants he serves.
Nos estamos dando cuenta que algunos países de Centroamérica con un mayor índice de violencia están expulsando mayor número de personas, sobre todo personas muy jóvenes y mujeres.
The Yale Center for the Study of Globalization reports that Central America is the world's most violent region. In the last decade, there have been 145,000 homicides in 7 countries in the region, the vast majority of them in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Father Juan Luis gives hope to people who want to escape the violence. Every day for over 10 years, he spends time caring for and providing sustenance to individuals from impoverished countries who come to the Casa del Migrante seeking support. According to Leonel Dubon, founder of El Refugio de la Niñez, a non-government organization that supports trafficked and at-risk youth, the most vulnerable people are children. As a vocal critic of the government, Leonel says the Guatemalan government does not want to recognize that violence is an important factor for those deciding to migrate.
Que la información que muchas veces se da va a depender de quién está manejando la información. Si es el gobierno quien maneja la información, no le conviene plantear que la violencia es una de las razones principales por la que los niños están saliendo del país.
Leonel says poverty also drives people to leave the country. Reports show more than half of the Guatemalan population lives below the poverty line.
La pobreza, la extrema pobreza, la inexistencia de empleos o de oportunidades de desarrollarse les genera desesperanza.
So, he says, many Guatemalans decide to migrate to the United States to look for work in the agricultural, construction, and restaurant industries. Former migrant Eddie Santiago left to be with his relatives in the United States. He spent 3 years without seeing his father until he decided to leave his small community and head to Los Angeles, California.
Y después contarlo a mi mamá. Mamá, he visto otra vez a mi papá, fue algo grandioso. Eso para mí sí fue alegría, felicidad.
Though the reasons to migrate vary from person to person, we learn that people leave for a few main reasons: to get out of poverty, to find work, to join family, and to escape violence. From Lafayette Lens, I'm Andy Munoz reporting.
Poverty, work, violence, and family. These forces drive millions to uproot their lives in the hope of finding better conditions and new opportunities in the U.S.
Their journey is long and often dangerous. Reporter Fabian Mergursa shows us the roads often traveled.
The journey from Guatemala to the Lehigh Valley region stretches more than 3,000 miles. For some, it begins in Guatemala City, the largest city in Central America. According to Professor Miguel Ugalde, approximately 12% of Guatemalans live in the United States. Luis Fuentes, an entrepreneur from Guatemala, has taken the journey 3 times and describes it as dangerous.
Sobre todo los puntos de registro, ¿no? Que son los que más, en donde más se arriesga uno a que lo regresen.
Migrants may follow one of 3 common routes, depending on where they plan to cross the U.S. border. Those wanting to cross through the Rio Grande Valley and other points in eastern Texas take the Gulf route, as outlined in pink. To cross into western Texas or New Mexico, migrants follow a central route, as outlined in green. And to cross into Arizona or California, migrants follow the west route, as outlined in blue. According to the Migration Policy Institute, as many as 500,000 Central American immigrants board freight trains known as La Bestia, or the Beast, to travel north through Mexico. Businesswoman Clemencia Mazarios rode one of these trains to enter the United States, where she worked as a nanny for 20 years.
Decidí irme, pero me fue mal porque el camino fue muy largo. Muchas dificultades en el camino. Caminar mucho a pie, como aguantar hambre, no dormir. Muchos culebras en el monte, muchas espinas. Subíamos un tren lleno de gente y con carga.
Alexis O'Neilio is a security guard. He's taking the journey from Guatemala to Tucson, Arizona, and remembers the many difficulties he encountered while entering Mexico. He spent 17 hours riding the back of a delivery truck crammed with 31 others.
Comenzamos todos a perder el conocimiento, a perder el control, a deshidratarnos. Unos se vomitaban y otros se desmayaban. Yo solo digo que fue un milagro de Dios de que ninguno fuéramos a morir ahí.
Jorge Alberto, who is originally from Honduras and now lives in Guatemala, had a similar experience.
Que si quieren llegar a Estados Unidos, por favor no lo hagan. Es triste ver cómo mueren muchos compatriotas hondureños, ver muchos hermanos centroamericanos, cómo mueren, cómo sufren.
The stakes are high, and the journey can be dangerous, and even deadly. Yet tens of thousands take the risk as they travel on the road from Guatemala to the United States. For Lafayette Lens, I'm Faven Magursa reporting.
At home, U.S. policymakers debate the impact of immigration into the country. In Guatemala, policymakers, business leaders, and academics are focusing on the impact on the economy and families.
Reporters Tommy Almodovar and Melissa Last investigate what Guatemalan business leaders and policymakers have to say.
According to the CIA World Factbook, Guatemala's main exports are coffee, sugar, and petroleum. But ask Fernando Lopez, president of the Chamber of Industries of Guatemala, and you get a different answer.
The main export of our country is people. We have about 1.5 million Guatemalans living in the United States.
Universidad Francisco Marroquín economics professor Fernando Monterroso believes remittances, or money sent home by Guatemalans abroad, equal about 1/10 of Guatemala's GDP.
We receive $5.4 billion a year. That was last year's sum from Guatemalans living abroad.
Fernando Lopez believes the government should invest more in its people.
And it's not going to end until we provide as a country, or Guatemala or the rest of the countries where you have a lot of immigration to the U.S., until we provide as a country the necessary environment for the development of the citizens. And that means mainly jobs that can guarantee a good future for them and their families.
Currently, more than half of Guatemala's population lives below the poverty line, and 13% of citizens live in extreme poverty. Many, like Fernando Lopez, feel that what's standing in the way of job production is a lack of investment.
What we would need to do as a country is to provide opportunities for those citizens that are living in Guatemala. That requires, of course, investment, because it's the only way to generate jobs.
Congressman Paul Breer, president of the Commission for Migrants, explains Welcome Home, a campaign launched last year to trigger job creation in Guatemala.
Es un tema de asistencia a los retornados, a los que vienen deportados de Estados Unidos, tratando de conseguirles empleo dentro del sector privado.
Academics, business leaders, and policymakers in Guatemala are all trying to deal with the challenges of immigration. For Lafayette Lens, I'm Tommy Almodovar with Melissa Last reporting.
Policymakers in Guatemala and in the U.S. face major impediments to reforming immigration policy. However, Guatemala's Social Welfare Office has recently implemented one major program called Quédate, which means stay.
Championed by the First Lady of Guatemala, the Quédate campaign hopes to reduce migration and keep its future leaders at home. Reporter Maggie Frodell has the story.
The campaign follows a recent stream of unaccompanied and undocumented minors entering the United States from countries like Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador.
Niños, niñas y adolescentes que han migrado, que tienen la intención de migrar, padres de familia y público en general para que conozcan la temática. El interés de primera dama pues es realmente que se conozca qué es la migración, que se conozca qué se está haciendo acá y cómo podemos prevenirla, todos los riesgos que implica la migración irregular.
The campaign features television spots, print media, and information packets about the dangers of migration and the rights migrants have. The Quédate campaign also funds 10 shelters for migrant children, like Hogar Nuestras Raíces, which we visited. The shelters house children returned from attempted trips to the United States and Mexico, and shelter staff members try to reunite them with a family member within 72 hours.
Entonces nosotros localizamos a la familia antes, para que cuando ellos vengan, vean a alguien de su familia. Porque si así les calma un poco la ansiedad y la desesperación que tienen de volver a su país y de encontrar a su familia.
La palabra es quédate. Quédate en tu país. Quédate joven, quédate adolescente. Guatemala te necesita también aquí.
Program officials hope to add more shelters and reach a larger number of Guatemalans. For Lafayette Lens, I'm Maggie Frodell reporting.
What attracts Latinos to the U.S., and what attracts Latinos specifically to the Lehigh Valley?
Reporter Kevin Iraeta explores the trend.
College student Sarah Solares migrated to the United States from Guatemala when she was 6 years old.
We particularly wanted to move to the Lehigh Valley area because we had family here, and we also had a lot of violent occurrences back in my home country of Guatemala.
Sarah is one of 74,000 Latinos who live in the Lehigh Valley. Many, like Sarah, say they were motivated to move for family and safety.
Moving to the Lehigh Valley has improved my life significantly. I actually was able to graduate high school with honors, and then I came to East Stroudsburg University, and I've gotten so many opportunities here.
Others, like Mexican immigrant Julio Vasquez, are attracted to the Lehigh Valley to find work.
Un cuñado se venía para acá y él nos invitó a conocer aquí, que nos dijo que había más trabajo y había más posibilidades de estar mejor y venimos a ver y nos gustó aquí y hasta ahorita estamos aquí.
Sarah is on track to graduate this winter and will go to graduate school at Kutztown University for Library Sciences. Julio and his family have been here for 15 years and he's optimistic about the future. For Lafayette Lens, I'm Kevin Iraeta reporting.
One of President Obama's executive orders on immigration is DACA, which stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. Created in 2012, DACA allows some people who came to the United States illegally as children to defer deportation for up to 2 years or more. They can work legally in the U.S. but are not granted lawful status. The federal government reports between August 2012 and September 2013, 580,000 people submitted DACA requests and 514,000 were approved. This policy is one of many being debated around immigration. For more, Ed's ready for the Student Showdown with Maggie Frodell and Phil Manna.
Thanks, Kadan. Now, Phil, as a student with strong views on immigration, what is your current opinion of the immigration laws in this country?
Well, I know it may upset some people, but the fact is a country has a right to protect its borders, and right now the laws are too lax. I mean, granted, most of the people coming over do want to build a better life for themselves, but the fact remains is that we can't keep track of everyone. Some of these people may be criminals. Heck, some of them may even be with the cartels. We just can't know for sure.
Yeah, but I think that, what we need is comprehensive immigration reform more than anything. I think that a lot of these people are coming from areas of poverty and violence that was caused by the United States, and I think it's a huge humanitarian crisis we have on our hands.
Well, that may be true, but the fact remains we simply cannot afford this strain on our public services. Right now, we're looking to move towards nationalized health care. We're going to have to pay for these people. And in addition, as of now, there's around 20 states or so giving in-state tuition to undocumented citizens. It's just not fair for our citizens.
Yeah, but a lot of migrants are paying their dues anyway. They have individual tax identification numbers they can receive so they can pay income taxes. They pay sales tax. They're really contributing to the economy.
But Maggie, it's not an issue of adding to the economy. It's more an issue of just job reallocation. I mean, people love to throw around the argument that, they're taking jobs Americans won't do. But that's just not the case anymore. I mean, the recovery from this recession has been slow, to say the least. Americans simply cannot be picky with what jobs they take and do not take.
Well, then I think that it's the responsibility of the government to regulate the companies who are hiring immigrants undocumented for really low wages.
Yes, but without this regulation, this is the problem we have right now. Americans cannot compete with these undocumented citizens who are earning $2 or $3 an hour. Employers are not going to hire Americans looking for minimum wage. It's just not fair, and we can't control this.
Phil, I let you start. Maggie, you're going to have the last word here.
I mean, I think we should really take this as an opportunity for growth for our nation. I think that these immigrants contribute culturally, they contribute to a language, and I think that's a really opportunity that shouldn't be missed.
Alrighty then, that concludes our Student Showdown, and over to you, Kadan.
Latino immigrants represent a significant portion of the Lehigh Valley's economy and community. Reporter William Gordon walks us through immigration's influence on local businesses.
When it comes to Latino immigration, the Lehigh Valley ranks as the fastest growing region in Pennsylvania, according to Daniel Diaz, Executive Director of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of the Lehigh Valley. The reason, he says, the growing economy.
The growing population of Latino here is a result of the growing market. There's a lot of jobs that are looking to be filled, and that's been a main reason why this area grows as fast as it does.
The Lehigh Valley attracts immigrants, Diaz says, because of the valley's robust manufacturing, healthcare services, and entertainment industries. According to Diaz, about 20% of local Latino immigrants work in the manufacturing industry, 21% in the education, healthcare, social industries, and another 17 to 18% in the arts and entertainment industries.
Just as much a part of the success of the Lehigh Valley and this growing revitalization or renaissance that's taking place here is, that piece of the pie is equal for both, the non-Latino and the Latino community, which is great, and they're contributing to the success in this emerging market.
For Lafayette Lens, I'm William Gordon reporting.
Through our research, we discovered that immigrants face barriers to assimilation as they relocate into a new community.
Reporter Alexandria Sousa explores the challenges of language, discrimination, and transportation.
At the Hispanic Center Lehigh Valley, Puerto Rican immigrant Lorimar Ortega shared a common barrier to assimilation.
Language is the first problem. What do you do to communicate with another person? If you need a service, what do you do? If you need a car, what do you do?
27 years after migrating to the United States, Martha Monroy maintains strong ties to her Mexican culture by leading a local folkloric dance troupe. A tax preparer by trade, she works closely to empower the Latino community of the Lehigh Valley to overcome this language barrier.
Mucha gente, por no tener un Social Security válido, les han negado las clases de ESL y de GED para que puedan superarse, ¿no? Y poder avanzar y tener un mejor nivel de educación.
Martha points out that it is not as easy to bridge this language barrier for adults without documentation.
Hay mucha discriminación en cuanto a la comunidad hispana o latina en esta área.
Martha believes that the source of this discrimination lies in a general misunderstanding about the Latino community of the Lehigh Valley, particularly a belief that they do not deserve language services because they do not pay taxes.
En realidad, sí lo hacemos, pagamos como todo mundo nuestros impuestos y trato de educar lo más que puedo a la comunidad.
Martha has also advocated for the accommodation of undocumented immigrants by working with Mayor Sal Panto to increase support for the fight for driver's licenses. She believes that transportation is another barrier to acculturation that must be bridged, and has lobbied for the passage of Pennsylvania House Bill 1648, which would allow undocumented immigrants to obtain state-issued driver's licenses.
Think about this. If you're undocumented and you apply for a driver's license, A, you'll be trained because you have to pass the test. B, you'll have insurance because you have to have insurance to drive. And C, you'll know where they are so that the federal government can make sure they have a pathway to citizenship.
Despite opposition, Mayor Panto has supported bringing this policy recommendation to the Pennsylvania legislature. For Lafayette Lens, I'm Alexandria Sousa reporting.
Being a stranger in a foreign land is a challenging experience.
Reporter Sadie Lebo takes us to see how local organizations in our region respond to the needs of a growing population of immigrants.
For almost 50 years, the Hispanic Center of the Lehigh Valley has helped residents look for jobs, learn English, and access resources.
Just like anything else in our communities, when you have supports and you feel welcomed, and I'm not saying giving people things, I'm saying assisting people with things, I think then you're a lot more successful.
The Hispanic Center facilitates the Basilio Huerta Senior Center, which provides social and educational programming for senior citizens. They're one of several local organizations that aim to meet the needs of migrant families and children. Erica Sutherland, an associate professor of Spanish at Muhlenberg College, runs a support group for migrants in the Lehigh Valley.
Whether they're documented or undocumented, if you're living here, you have certain rights and responsibilities that really come with living here. And to be a full-fledged member of a community, whether or not you can vote, is really important.
Based in Philadelphia, the Lutheran and Family Service Center operates a foster care program for unaccompanied minors with refugee status.
They get medical assistance so that they're covered for medical and dental care. We make sure that they are seen by doctors on a regular basis for routine care.
Peter Godemoller oversees the foster care program, which matches students with adult mentors.
We try to help them be connected with a responsible adult member of society who can help them through the rough spots. We have lots of youth who complete their high school education and go on to college or a training program.
And he says that this sets those young people on a path to success. For Lafayette Lens, I'm Sadie Lebo reporting.
We look for some of the most innovative ways local municipalities address immigration.
The town of Jupiter, Florida has adopted a unique strategy as more and more people enter their community.
Reporter Steve Ayeko discussed the town's 9-year program, which attempts to combat a negatively viewed problem with a positive response.
Founded in 2006, El Sol is a community resource center that was a response to what's been called the open-air labor market problem in Jupiter, Florida. Its goal? To solve the problems that resulted from day laborers lining the streets to look for work.
The mission of El Sol is to improve the quality of life of everyone in the town of Jupiter, primarily day laborers and their families. Every morning we open our center at 6 in the morning and about 100 people come into our labor center to look for work. We offer a wide range of services. Our primary program is the day labor matching program. We have educational classes, a health program, legal program, and an integration with special events and integration program.
According to Jupiter's town manager and El Sol's co-founders, the center did face opposition initially. Protests occurred every Saturday against the migrant community, who were blamed for declining real estate prices, safety concerns, and litter.
You have to recognize that El Sol started in around the mid-2000s. That was a period of time where we had really heavy immigration debates throughout the country. You know, it's still heavy today, but it was at its fever pitch at that point in time.
Despite the pushback, many say El Sol owes its progress to collaboration.
The number one thing I would say that it took to start El Sol was trust building. It took trust with the immigrant community, the employers, it took trust building with the town, and it took trust building with other constituencies like the university and the Catholic Church.
When asked their opinions about El Sol, this is what residents had to say.
When they put in El Sol, then there was a place for everybody to go and find a job.
That is great, you know, that they can have a place where they can feel part of the community, which is, I think, very important.
So we really see ourselves as a bridge to connect some of those resources and services to a community that's been hard to reach, and really providing a safe place where people can interact in a positive way.
While El Sol works to supply all day laborers with jobs, its motto is something to reference as the immigration debate continues at the national level. From Lafayette Lens, I'm reporter Steve Ayeko.
Before an immigrant can become a naturalized citizen, he or she must first gain legal status in the United States.
Reporter Rachel Robertson met with Easton immigration attorney William Maynard and joins us now. Rachel?
Maynard says he helps immigrants choose between 3 options. They can pursue asylum, work authorization, or a green card. He says each option has its benefits and its challenges. Most often, Maynard recommends immigrants pursue a green card. Green card holders are granted authorization to live and work in the United States indefinitely, according to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services.
The first thing is if you're able to obtain a green card, congratulations. That's great. It's a huge step. Once you obtain a permanent green card, you are allowed to live here for life.
The U.S. State Department reports that there are roughly 4.4 million people waiting for U.S. green cards within the United States and abroad. While a green card allows an immigrant to become a lawful permanent resident of the United States, it does not afford an immigrant the full rights of citizenship. green card holders can be deported for committing a crime or leaving the country for an extended period of time.
If you've been a green card holder for more than 5 years, you should really look into citizenship so you never have to deal with that again.
In January of 2013, 13.3 million green card holders resided in the United States. 8.8 million of those legally permanent residents were able to become naturalized citizens. According to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, for those that choose to pursue naturalization, the length of the process varies, and they are working to decrease the time to an average of 6 months after filing the necessary forms.
Thanks, Rachel. That wraps up our program, but we leave you with the words of Father Carbajal, who said, "The hardest borders are in the mind and the heart."
Thank you for joining us for Lafayette Lens.